Alright guys, so got a product review today. I'm going to be trying out this FelicArt or FelicArt, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, the brand, Eco Polymer resin. So this is a two-part eco resin, which is kind of interesting. It's also very cheap. It's by far the cheapest eco resin of any kind I've seen. For 1,000 grams of powder, you pay, it's like $10 on Amazon. So really cheap. So first thing right out of the gate, I've already had an issue before I even opened the box, and that is this little pouch here had a little hole in it up here, and it looked like a little slit. That could have been done during packaging or whatever. Might have even been the corner of this bag poking it, though it's not really that sharp, so I don't think that was the thing. But anyway, there was a hole in it, and I noticed there was some wetness to the corner of the box it came in. I was like, oh no. But luckily not too much leaked out. Substantial bit, probably about to there, leaked out. Now it's lower than this now because I've got some of this in a cup ready to go, but yeah, so it leaked out a little bit. My advice to the company, put this in a plastic bottle. I would put this in a hard plastic bottle to ship, because this pouch is really kind of sketchy. It's kind of sketchy. This whole system is just not really secure. You might get some unhappy people who, you know, all of their liquid leaked out and their whole thing was ruined. So, you know, food for thought. So, another issue, I mean, I guess it's an issue, it's not really, and I don't know if it's supposed to smell like this, but this liquid smells literally like sewage. It's, it's got a real sulfury, rotten fart smell to it. That's the best I can describe it. It smells like sewage. So, I don't know if it's supposed to. I don't know if maybe they had a... This is obviously water-based. I don't know if they used sewage water or something to make this liquid. I don't know. Hopefully it's supposed to smell that way, you know, so maybe it'll turn out fine. But anyway, also the powder seems to be the consistency of plaster of Paris. Pretty similar consistency, not as clumpy, but the same color and consistency, a little bit off-white-ish, like plaster sometimes is. Not quite as brilliant white as most eco resins. So I'm going to be trying two things here. I'm going to mix a batch together the proper way, the way you're supposed to, with the liquid here. I'm going to pour that in this pumpkin mold here. I'm going to color it too. I'm going to color both these examples here. But then for the other one, I'm going to mix the powder with water, just to see how that turns out. I would hope and expect that it's going to be at least worse quality than this. It'll probably work to some degree, but I would imagine it's not going to be as strong as this stuff. Again, provided this stuff even turned out right. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing. So we'll mix this together. And as I like to do, I like to mix a little powder in first and get that dissolved in there good. And then mix the rest of the powder in kind of gradually. Yeah, this does really have the same kind of color and consistency as plaster of Paris. Well, we'll just throw the whole thing in here then. Yeah, it looks pretty similar. I really should have done this a lot more slowly. And I might have ruined this because I'm bogging down my my mixer there. I think I really just screwed this up. So you want to mix it together pretty slow, I guess. See, this would have mixed fine with plaster, not plaster, if it was Resin-crete. I'm going to pour a little of this in here and hope that this ain't ruined. right out of the gate, this is definitely trickier to mix than regular Resin-Crete. It's not looking good for this stuff, honestly. I may have to scrap this and try it over again. My ratio is right. I followed the instructions. I think I mixed this into, yeah, I mixed the powder in too quickly. And I don't know if I'm setting up or what. I don't know what's going on here, but this is way too thick. I'm gonna power through and try and get this to work. Yeah, they really need to emphasize more gradually putting the powder in, because this is pretty rough here. I don't know if I should maybe water it down a little. I'm gonna continue adding the stinky liquid and hope I can turn it around here. That might work. That also might be too much liquid. Again, also, I don't really know what consistency this stuff is really supposed to be. Well, this has turned out to be quite an ordeal. And I do think I'm going to end up having to do a new batch anyway, just to make sure I can do this right. By the way, this is a 30-minute, I believe, 30-minute cure time on this. 30 to 45 minutes, it says. So, anyway, I'm gonna just mix my color in. It's not looking good for this stuff, though, because honestly, between the leak, between the smell, and the trouble mixing, which, I mean, you could even just say, maybe that was my fault, maybe I messed up. I'm pretty certain I weighed everything correctly, and it is supposed to be by weight. So I don't know. I don't know what happened here. We'll see how it colors, at least. If it even colors. There wasn't really any info on how well it holds color, or if it holds color, what colors to use. There wasn't really any info on that. Really takes quite a bit to get the color mixed in here. I do feel like with it being an off-white, it should kind of maybe hold a truer color than, say, Resin-Crete, which tends to be much whiter, a much brighter white, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm putting quite a bit of color in here, and it's still kind of a light color. And that's just kind of a ugly orange. That's all I'm doing on that. I'm not going to put any more colorant in there. I'm going to waste my colorant trying to get a decent orange on something that might not even cure. It might not even work, and it might smell like rancid farts even after it cures. I don't know. I need to look that up and see if that's a typical thing. Maybe somebody's left. I didn't really read the reviews too much. I kind of just bought it and figured I would check it out myself. So I need to check the reviews and see if anybody else had the stinky smell, because it's definitely noteworthy. It's a really gross smell. And of course, I'm just short. I always struggle with getting the right amount to fill my molds with eco resin, because when you add the liquid, you would think that it would be. There's two trains of thought that you would think with eco resin like that. One would be that maybe your volume, that your final volume, your final mixed volume will be the same volume as your powder plus your liquid. Or you could think, well, the liquid's going to go away, it's going to dissolve, whatever. So it'll just be the volume of your powder. But I've found actually with ResinCrete, I've kind of got it dialed in. But so like for example with ResinCrete, when I need to get a specific mixed volume, typically for every 100 milliliters or 100 grams of powder, take away 20 from that. So like whenever I mix, like if I use 100 grams of powder and then the correct amount of water, it tends to yield about 80 grams or milliliters of mixed product. Because I mean it's fine and powdery, and so I guess it just kind of pulls away some of the, closes all the air pockets and stuff and brings the volume down. It seems, with ResinCrete, it seems to take off about 20 grams per 100 grams of, volume there. Yeah. So this second one here is just straight up water mixed with the stuff. And I do kind of have a feeling it's just going to turn out pretty much the same way plaster of Paris would. Probably fairly brittle, fragile, crumbly, whatever. We'll see. That's why I'm using a smaller amount. Cool thing is that with doing this thing here, I've used up 50 grams of my powder, and that maybe will compensate a little bit for the liquid that I lost in transit. This does seem, with just the water, this does seem to be setting up a little quicker. Because I just mixed this and it's starting to thicken up. So let's pour this ugly orange into this pumpkin mold. And then again, ugly orange, I say, that's another downside to this stuff, I gotta say, is somehow it takes color even worse than ResinCrete. Now again, here on this big one here, sure, that looks like a decent orange. Yeah, after I squirted damn near half the bottle in there. Yeah, it looks like I did fairly well on figuring out what I needed. This, so it pretty much seems to be the same shrink formula as the ResinCrete. However, this one is a little short, so that might just be, this liquid maybe dissolves it a little better than water. As you can see, the water one here did perfectly fine. I had perfect amount for that. So I'm going to wipe up this excess a little bit here, and we're just going to give this stuff, I'm going to give it 45 minutes to cure. Now, I don't know if this water one, it's hard to say what the cure time on that will be because it's not being used as directed. But definitely this big one, we'll check it out. I mean, again, I better see some good results from this because so far it's not looking good. We're off to a shaky start. Alright, so I let these cure. I let them sit for about 24 hours actually, just so they'd be fully, completely cured. Though I did demold both of these after 45 minutes, and they were fine. They were good to go. So first, let's discuss this one here. Now this is the one that I did with just this casting powder and some water. And I mean, it took every detail from the mold. Perfect. Totally good. However, not really a viable way to use it because it's quite soft. Even just with a popsicle stick, I can gouge into it. And actually, not only is it it's pretty much exactly the consistency of chalk, it actually kind of works as chalk. Not great, but it actually kind of works like chalk. So yeah, I think that was just, the powder I think is something similar to plaster of Paris, only actually not quite as strong as typical plaster of Paris, because you wouldn't be able to scratch into it that well and it wouldn't rub off so much with regular plaster of Paris. But anyway, it was worth a try. I wanted to see how this worked, and it was interesting anyway. And I mean, this is still usable. Well, maybe it's not. See, the stem came right off there. Yeah, it's a little too fragile to really do anything with. Now, you could make spheres out of it. Anything that doesn't have small, fragile, breakable parts you could do. But really, I mean, it's kind of better to just use it as it's intended. Which, by the way, luckily this turned out really nice. It cured really nice. Smooth as glass, though a lot of that is the mold here is a real glossy, smooth mold. But and the smell is gone. Like, I can hold it right up to my nose and I don't smell that weird sewage smell anymore. I did go on Amazon and look through the comments, the reviews rather. There was really actually only 4 reviews for this product, which is usually not a good sign for a product. And one of them, they had kind of a similar problem in that their liquid was kind of messed up. They had pictures of it where there was mold growing in their liquid there. So they probably had a hole in their thing too, and it just sat and got mold in it or something. I don't know. Again, it really comes down to this needs to be packaged better. Because really that's the only real problem I had, was the way it came, which I can kind of forgive a damaged product, you know, once. But again, it wouldn't have been damaged if they would have just put it in a hard plastic bottle. I mean, you're not... I know they're probably wanting to save on material, but it's kind of iffy when, you know, half your customers might get a bad batch. And again, with the smell, I saw nothing about it in the 4 reviews that there were. So I still don't know if it was supposed to smell like sewage and sulfur, or if I just got a weird batch. But it did cure, so, and it doesn't smell anymore. The finished product doesn't smell like that, so I guess that's a win. However, just in case there is something wrong with this, for the rest of this batch, I am gonna, when I use this stuff, I'm gonna wear gloves just in case. Just in case it's a situation where, because this stuff is water-based, so it could be very well a situation where they had a tainted water source in the place where they made this, and maybe they had some kind of backflow or whatever of sewage into their water source. I don't know. Or maybe it's supposed to smell like that. Maybe that's the key ingredients. It smelled sulfury, so maybe there's some sulfur in there for some reason. But it also smelled like, just kind of like sewage in general. So maybe there's some sort of enzymes in here, I was thinking. Maybe there's some sort of enzymes in here and some kind of organic material maybe that's causing it to smell like that. Because it does very much smell like decomposing organic material with a hint of sulfur. But other than that, yeah, it cured good. Just as good as any other eco resin. Again, not pleased with the way it takes color. It's even lighter. It seems like it the colors are even lighter than with like regular Resincrete. So that's an issue. I didn't try acrylic paints in it, and so I don't know. Maybe if I add a little extra juice here to make up for it, I can get away with putting a lot of acrylic paint in something like this. But that's further down the road. I'll try that some other time. All in all, I gotta say, with everything said, I would give this about 3 out of 5 stars. That would come up if the packaging was better on this. And also if I knew whether or not it was supposed to smell like this. So yeah, I mean, it'd be really nice if they can upgrade the packaging on this liquid. And also, even though they did specify in the instructions here, I feel like they really should have emphasized a little more to very gradually add your powder into your liquid. And I mean very gradually. You want to keep it as liquid as you can. Don't want clumps, because if you pour too much of the powder in with the liquid, it gets really clumpy really fast, and you're going to have to add more liquid. And as you saw on the video, it was kind of a pain. But it worked. I was able to get it, you know, to where it needed to be. So yeah, I would emphasize using this stuff. I would emphasize very little bit of powder at a time while you're mixing. So, I mean, I would hate to give this a really bad review because it did turn out fine. And despite the package damage and the smell and my screw up with the mixing, trying to mix too much powder in at once, I mean, I think they're probably a small company. So, I mean, you know, I would hate to give them a bad review just based on those couple of little things that I think going forward, hopefully they will learn from that. They probably get a lot of returns on this stuff if they come packaged like this. Because this is really crappy packaging. Sorry, but, you know, it is. And so, I mean, I would try it if you've got $10 that you don't mind possibly wasting. Now, they do have a 30-day return. So, I mean, if you get it and your liquid all leaked out, you could, you know, contact them and return the product and get your money back. But it is only $10 for this kit. Now, they have a kit with, I think, some colorant and a mold that's like, I think, $15 or something like that. But this is just what they call the refill kit. This is just the powder and everything itself. I don't need any more colorant or molds, so that's why I didn't get that one. But I would, you know, maybe give it a try. And if some of y'all do give this stuff a try, please let me know in the comments of this video if your liquid smelled like sewage or not. Because I'm real curious if it's supposed to smell like that. Now, granted, you have to hold your nose right up to it to smell it. It's not like it stinks up the whole room. But it's just a really... the smell is kind of strange for a crafting product. Anyway, I guess that's about it for today. Again, not the greatest thing in the world, but there are improvements that the company could make in order to make this a viable competitor with Resincrete and the others. And again, the upside is this is only $10. It's just kind of a roll of the dice as to whether or not this will get to you intact. So anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.